Everyone, welcome to the February 14th Oshkosh Advisory Park Board meeting. Stacy, if you could do roll call.
Bartelt.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Dearth.
Here.
Royal.
Here.
Hudak.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Metz.
Here.
Millette.
Here.
And Palmieri. Lori does not appear to be here yet.
I'm just sending a quick text to IT because my record button is not working. I just want them to know. So give me 1 second, please. You can go ahead, Hill. You can go ahead, Amy. We should be all right.
All right, so with that, move on to the minutes. Are there any comments or questions about the January 10th minutes?
This is Deb. I move to accept the minutes.
This is Lester. I second.
Right. We'll have to do roll call for the minutes on that. Bartelt.
Aye.
Davis. Dearth.
Aye.
Royal. Hudak.
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Metz.
Aye.
And Millette.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Amy, are you still there? Tony, are you ready to pinch? I think Amy may have buffered out.
I'm here. I was
Oh, there
having
she
some,
is.
I had some barking dogs. My heavy barking dog. All right. Do we have any public comments, Ray, do you know, for any of the agenda items?
No, we do not.
Okay. And then any old business?
We do not.
All right. And then I guess would you take us off for our new business?
Sure. The only business item for tonight is a presentation by the City Attorney's Office on Board and Commission rules, open meetings, public records, and ethics. Some of you that have been on the board for a number of years may have heard some of this information before, but there has been some updates to some of the Board and Commission rules, some other things as far as adding things to agendas. And so both Ms. Lawrenson and Amy Van Hogen from the City Attorney's Office are here. They will present, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
All right, I'll start. You should have received, by the way, I'm Lynn Lawrence and I'm the city attorney for those of you who don't know me. Amy Vanden Hogen is the assistant city attorney. And then we also have Dave Praska in our office. Dave is not joining us tonight, but he is also in our office and available if anybody ever has questions. You can feel free to talk to any one of the three of us. You should have received, I believe with your agendas, a copy of the updated manual for Parks Board members. We tried to put a lot of the information for your particular board and commissions. We put them into one manual for you. So hopefully it's kind of a useful tool for you. It should have your ordinances in it, some guidelines for making decisions. It has the board and commission rules, which, as Ray noted, were updated in December of last year. And then tonight, sorry, I have just a little bit of a tickle in my throat. So if I take a second here. Tonight, we're going to go through an overview of those rules. A lot of things really stayed the same. A few things are different, but even some of the things that are different are going to seem very familiar to you. It's mostly just kind of codifying things that we did before. We just didn't come out and put it in writing and say this was how we were doing it. So I'll go through those. And then Amy's going to take over and she's going to cover the open meetings law, public records law, and ethics real quickly for you. And then we'll get you out and back to your Valentine's tonight. So if you have questions anywhere along the line, feel free to just, wave, do whatever to get our attention. Amy's really good at watching for that. And we'll get those questions answered for you as we go along. I think that I covered all the basic introduction stuff. Yep, I'm getting a nod. Good. All right, so the new rules, again, were adopted in December. What we did is we reorganized them a little bit so that they're in kind of headings and hopefully a little better organized. And then we added in some of these new sections. So they start out with scheduling and locations of meetings. This stuff hasn't changed. Our ordinances require you to have regular meetings at a regular time and place, and you guys do. They provide, you can have special meetings. I know you've had some of those, but I think you guys pretty much stick to your regular meetings. We did add a new section about remote participation and remote appearances that's designed to be a little more permanent in nature. We've been doing, obviously, remote meetings and remote appearances by people for, God, it's going on 2 years now, I think. We have taken some of the things we've learned from that, and we're now going to build those in as a more permanent part of our rules. So hopefully at some point we can all go back to being in one place and have our discussions all together. When that happens, though, we wanted to still allow for remote appearances in some forms. As the rules envision it, it's primarily for people who are maybe confined, aren't able to attend a meeting for another reason. That can be worked with your staff people, and they may work with IT and with the media department and make provisions for someone who can't attend in that way. Those kind of attendances are intended for the benefit of the city, the benefit of those people who really don't have another option. It's not intended for somebody who's maybe a snowbird, or, if I'm on your border commission, but I'm going to be off in Florida for 2 months out of the year, but I still want to participate. Those kind of things are what your alternates are for. The attendance for this remote attendance is more for like ADA types of concerns. And then we also did open it up for like presentations. Suppose you had a presentation from maybe it's your architect that you worked with on the Lakeshore building that's coming up, and that person, it costs us a lot of money to bring them into town every time, but you want to be able to see them at your board and commission. We adapted the rules to allow those kind of presentations. So those are the things that we took out of these kind of remote appearances and said, hey, those things work pretty well. We want to keep those available in the rules. The next section is another kind of new section, although it's not really that new. It's this is the one that it's rules pertaining to placement of matters on your agenda. It really kind of codifies what we've been doing all along, so it shouldn't look that different to you. It's got a lot of verbiage that goes with it because attorney, you're just going to have to put up with the fact that when I write a lot. So there's a lot of words there, and then there's a pretty picture that is the flow chart of how things get onto boards and commissions. These are written very generally because they're intended to apply for all our boards and commissions. The one in particular I'm going to kind of run through with you guys is the advisory one. I believe it's the first one in the packet. There are times you may deal with individual properties, so you might want to also look at the quasi-judicial one in those instances when you're maybe looking to buy a particular park property or doing something with the park properties that affects an individual property owner in a very distinctive way. But for the most part, I think most of your items are going to be advisory in nature. So that's the one I wanted to spend time on. Again, the flow chart is just a picture way and a better way to explain how we move things through and where boards and commissions kind of fit into our structure. So the overall city organization, we're a city manager form of government. So the city council is responsible for establishing the big overall policies. They pass the legislative ordinances, they adopt our budget, they adopt the strategic plan and goals and appropriate money to pay for all these things and develop kind of that overall vision for the city. The city manager and the staff then are responsible for implementing those policies and managing the daily operations of the city, as well as assisting to help define those roles and the strategies for reaching them. And I flipped my page and accidentally muted myself there. Sorry about that. Boards and commissions are then supporting entities to that. So a couple of things about the rules. The primary functions of the boards and commissions, if you're advisory, is to give advice to the council and to staff on those things that your ordinance, or in some cases statutes, but you guys are an ordinance. You're created by ordinance, and your rules and all your things are contained in that ordinance. And that's included in a copy of that's included in the manual for you. So you can always refer back to that and say, hey, is this within the bounds of stuff that we deal with? Addendum A to the rules is actually a summary of all of the boards and commissions and all of their jurisdictions. So if you go, hey, what does the DEI committee or the sustainability committee do? That addendum is in the materials that you have as well, and you can look those things up. How do things get to your boards and commissions? Most things are going to come to you from either from staff or from yourselves, suggestions that other board members may have, or they might be suggestions or requests from the public. From there, the first person that they're going to go through is your staff person. If it's the commission itself or if it's someone from the public, generally you're going to want to direct them to the staff person because they can help them formulate it to make it most understandable. They're going to be the ones who put the agendas together for you to get it on your agenda. So it kind of all starts with the staff person, and that person's going to review it. The first thing they're going to look at is, does this really fit with our board and commission? If it doesn't fit within your board and commission, they may send it out to another board and commission, or they'll just respond to the person and say, this isn't really something that fits with this board or commission. If it's something that fits with your board and commission, but it might have some things that relate to other boards and commissions or relate to other staff, your staff person is going to be the person who reaches out to those other staff people and other boards and commissions and helps facilitate getting that input from those other groups and other people. Staff is going to prioritize the matters based on, their workload, how they can process it through, how efficiently, who it may be assigned to, in their vacation schedules and stuff. So some of that is going to have to go into some of the staff responsibilities. But as you walk through the flow chart, you're going to see that staff is going to review these things and report back. And I think your staff actually was pretty good about that, about reporting back, but that is one of the things that got included in, and we are doing training for staff as well, so that that reporting back to you about where staff is at with projects, if it was referred to council or to another board and commission, what may have happened at that other board and commission, you're going to see there are built-in reporting back mechanisms, so that became more formalized. And we are training our staff members that do work with boards and commissions to make sure that's at the front of their mind too, that every time they put together an agenda for you, they think, hey, is there anything I need to report back and let you know, so that things don't just get sent off to a black hole somewhere. Let's see. I think that's pretty much with that chart. Amy, was there anything that I missed with that you noticed? Okay, then beyond that, the rules also cover your quorum and your voting requirements. All of this is the same. A majority of your board constitutes a quorum. A lesser number can adjourn. So if you don't have enough people, you have to adjourn. You have to wait until you have a full quorum, enough people to consider it to vote. A majority of those who are present and voting can pass a measure. Every board and commission has the opportunity for alternates. You should have the ability to have 2 alternates on your board and commission. The one thing that we found with the boards and commissions that we've been noting in the training is not everybody uses the alternates in the same manner, and that's okay. So if you see another board or commission that's using the alternates a little bit differently, that's okay, but we would tell you to choose a method for your board and stick with it. If you have 2 alternates and you have 1 vacancy and Amy and I are both the alternates, you might choose, if I'm alternate one is always the first one to go. Or maybe we alternate. I go this month, next month there's an absence, Amy's your first choice. Again, whichever method you choose, even months is Lynn, odd months is Amy. Whatever you do is fine, but pick a method and stick with it, because unfortunately, people like to read into things that aren't necessarily there. And we did have a question come up with one board and commission. There was someone who thought maybe it was suspicious that they picked Lynn to vote this month instead of Amy, because we think Lynn was going to vote in for this and Amy would have been against it. It was nothing like that. It was just that person's on deck. But people like to read into stuff nowadays. I don't know what else to say about that. And so that's part of the reason we tell you, kind of pick something and stick with it. Attendance and excusal. We ask you to give at least 24 hours notice if you're going to miss a meeting. So that does allow your staff people, Stacy or somebody, to reach out to the alternates and make sure they're going to be in attendance and that you aren't going to lose a quorum. Because if we didn't have a quorum, it just kind of wastes everybody's time. So we do ask if you know 24 hours advance. Obviously, if you get sick or get in a car accident on the way to the meeting, that's not going to be feasible. But to the extent you can give advance notice, we ask you to please do that. Rules of order, there's a chart. The chart, if you're familiar from it in the past, is our attempt to reduce Robert's Rules of Order, 900 pages of material, to about 2 or 3 pages, to give you a simple, easy to look at, easy to follow guide. It tells you the motions are grouped into sections to hopefully make them easier for you to find quickly if you're looking for them in the meeting. Do you need a second? Is it a majority, a supermajority vote? All of those kind of things are included in that chart. Those are the most often used motions. Frankly, you're probably never going to have a motion that isn't covered in that chart, and it's going to be much more friendly than Robert's Rules of Order to try and work through. And those are the rules that the ones that are in that chart are the ones that council has adopted, and those are what you use. We have rules pertaining to individuals addressing boards and commissions, and Amy's going to get into that a little bit more when she talks, so I'll defer that, other than to say you guys get to make the rules for people who want to talk to your board and commission. And then finally, we have rules of decorum. We used to not spend much time on this because we didn't really have problems, but the city does adopt this civility pledge, and we have unfortunately had some disruptive individuals at other meetings recently. I'm not familiar if you guys have had any or not, but we have had a few people who've had to be removed from meetings. And so what we have found works best for in those situations was just to simply take a break. So while you're still virtual, you can, whoever has control, I think it's Ray at this meeting, can actually cut the person off and take them out of the meeting. When you come back in person, what we found works the best is just to take a break. If Amy's being disruptive, and maybe I should use Ray, he's more likely to be disruptive. If Ray is being disruptive, we call him to order. And if he continues and, I'm sorry, Mr. Maurer, your time is up. You need to sit down. My time's not up. I'm going to continue. We're going to take a break then, gavel it. You guys are usually televised, Ray? Or no? Yes. Okay. So if you are televised, we do recommend the media people know it, but also, just in case they are caught off guard as well, we tell you to just pause your televising as well and have someone just go talk to this person. If you can, if the person is disruptive, if you guys kind of have an expert on the board here with Scott, but if they're disruptive, if they're beyond a point where they you can deal with them, definitely have someone call the police. So again, it's unfortunate we have to talk about it, but what we found is typically with taking a break, a lot of the people calm down, or it gives us a chance to have a staff person take them to the side, and the meeting can then proceed on. So I believe that is everything I was going to cover. In your manuals, you will see a couple of sheets they're called guidance for decision making. They're just a little script. If you're newer on the board and you're like, oh, we have approval of the CIP on here, I've never done that before. It just gives you a quick overview of that process and some things to consider, so that you have a reference point. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Amy, and she can cover state statutes for you.
All right. Like Lynn said before, everything that I'm going to cover tonight is just a refresher. There is nothing new, and everything I'm covering is in your packet. So I'll go through it, just kind of let it sink in. It's a refresher on concepts. If you are to ever run into any of these situations as you go along on your board participation, that manual is a great resource. As Lynn also said, our office is always there to answer questions. But again, I'll be covering open meetings, public records, and ethics. So starting with open meetings, I'm going to go through what constitutes an open meeting, and then if it is an open meeting, what's required. So what is an open meeting? There are two tests to determine what an open meeting is. It's the purpose test and the numbers test. The purpose test is exactly what it sounds like. If you are getting together for the purpose of discussing or gathering information or discussing something that's going to come before you as a board, that has satisfied the purpose test. If you are getting together to determine where to go to eat for Valentine's, not perfect, or not the purpose test. But yeah, if something's coming before you on the Parks Board, that's going to satisfy your purpose test. Numbers test. The numbers test is a number sufficient to determine the body's course of action. It's kind of a legal phrase. Your presumption or your starting point is going to be half of you would be the numbers test, half of your members. But again, because that number is just the number sufficient to determine a body's course of action, is your quorum 5? I'm getting a head nod from both Stacy and Ray. So if your quorum's 5, 3 of you, and let's say you have some meeting where everyone's busy and only 5 of you can show up, 3 of you would actually be sufficient to determine the course of action. So presumption is presumption is half, but depending upon your circumstances, the numbers test could actually be smaller. So purpose and numbers. If you satisfy both of those tests, it's an open meeting and you're going to have to do some specific statutory requirements, which I'll get to in 1 second. I just want to cover some special considerations when it comes to determining, do you have an open meeting? Going through the list real quick, written correspondence. Written correspondence will generally not be perceived as an open meeting because it's generally one way. You are receiving a letter from someone. It's probably unlikely that you're going to have this massive dialogue back and forth. But as you kind of get closer and closer to a dialogue, so let's say telephone, well, maybe telephone call between two of you wouldn't be an open meeting. But once you get that numbers test, especially if you're doing like a telephone conference call, that could be an open meeting. Emails, the AG's office strongly discourages members from using emails. You may run afoul of open meetings because of reply all. Even if you intended to only include one other board member, it is just so easy nowadays to reply, to forward, and suddenly you have included more people than you intended. You've created an open meeting unintentionally. Again, we do not want to discourage those conversations, just have them in a properly noticed open meeting. Walking quorum, I'll cover quickly, just so you know the concept. That is where, so let's say I quickly talk to Lynn. Maybe I haven't violated open meetings law, but I'm like, here's an issue that's coming up. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's how I'm leaning towards my vote. But then Lynn goes and talks to Lori and says, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what Amy's thinking. What are you going to do? And, you know, through a chain of two people talking, you've now satisfied your purpose and numbers test, even though at any given time, only two of you may have been in the room. So watch out for walking quorums. Other boards and commissions, if a sufficient number of you are going to another board and commission to gather information, you may be having an open meeting. Our best practice advice is if you intend to go to another board and commission, just notify your staff member. They can kind of keep tabs on it, and if it needs to be noticed out, they can. The last special consideration we have is, as Lynn and I have been going through these trainings, we have heard some boards and commissions are developing subcommittees. That is an open, if you have a smaller group of you that are regularly meeting to discuss something out of your normal meeting, that is an open meeting. It's not the end of the world. You just have to comply with notice and keeping a record. I'll go through all the requirements in a second, but just keep in mind, subcommittees are still conducting open meetings. So again, numbers and purpose tests, that helps you determine, do we have an open meeting? If you have an open meeting, that's where we get into state requirements of what do you have to do? Well, the meeting has to be noticed out. It has to reasonably apprise the public and the media of the topics that you're going to be discussing and items to be acted on. The good news for you is that staff will generally take care of the notice. The notice has to go out at least 24 hours in advance, but our best practice is at least 72. Closed sessions, I'm not really going to touch on those. You guys probably won't run into them. If you do, give us a call. Accessibility, an open meeting has to be accessible to the public, so keep in mind your ADA considerations. Tape recording and videotaping of the meeting is okay. If a citizen comes in and they want to videotape it, that's okay, as long as they are not being disruptive. And by that, I mean, they're not getting in your face or yelling or, you know, shoving this camcorder in your face. If they're being disruptive, Lynn kind of went through already how to address that. but it is generally okay for them to do that. Citizen participation. Open meetings law does not require citizen participation. It does require that a citizen has the opportunity to observe, but that doesn't mean they have a right to talk. That being said, all of our boards and commissions do allow for citizen participation. Our advice to you, similar to how you are going to kind of come up with your own rules about alternates, is you also come up with your own rules about citizen participation. When can they talk? At what point in the meeting? Is it just in the beginning? Is it after every agenda item? How long do they have to talk? 5 minutes? Is it unlimited? We wouldn't advise unlimited. Are they limited? Like if you have a general comment period in the beginning, is it truly general comment or is it limited to action items that you have that night? Again, we're not telling you how to do it, but we're just advising that whatever your rules are, you have them ahead of time. So let's say you have your 5-minute rule and someone's going over the time limit. Well, now you have a way to enforce that and bring that back to say, nope, you had your 5 minutes, you're done. And if they persist, then again, you treat them as, take a break, do what you need to do to kind of rein them back in with their conduct. The last thing that's required for open meetings is that you do have to keep a record of motions and roll call votes of each meeting. You can certainly keep extra information if you want to, but that's what's required at a minimum. Again, staff should take care of that for you. So for the most part, you're off the hook. With that, I know I covered that all very quickly, but that was open meetings. Before I go on to public records, does anyone have questions on open meetings? You are a good group that wants to go to Valentine's, so I'm going to quickly keep going on. All right, public records. Again, this is an easy one for you as board members because staff will generally take care of any public record request. So if there's a public record request for all correspondence that was sent to the board within the last month, that's something that staff is generally going to take the lead on responding to. The one part in training that we like to touch upon is that in order for staff to do that, they need to have the information. So if you are getting letters from the public, make sure staff gets a copy so that they have the copy and that when they get the public record request, you don't have to dig through your house to find it. 1 second while I cough here. Sorry, Lynn and I both have tickles tonight. Lynn, do you want to just cover emails real quick? I'm going to grab a cup of water. I'll be right back. If you can.
Sure. If you get emails to your private email address and that's obviously not going to be recorded, anything on the city system is recorded, you can copy it to one of your staff members. I don't know, do you have a particular Ray person that you want to copy to? Oh, I can't hear you.
I did unmute it. They're pretty good at copying me and Stacy, so I think we're okay, either one of us.
So once it gets on to either to Ray or Stacy, then it's on the city system and then we have it. So that gets back to Amy's point of, we can respond if we have the information. So the other thing is sometimes you will get emails from the city. There was a board email and I am not on a board, so my understanding is those get sent out to everybody. If you want to respond to that or have responses again, make sure you copy Ray or Stacy so that everything is archived back into that city system for email. If you do that on a regular basis, If there is a request, then we know we have copies of it. If you do it on a regular basis, someone can say, well, I think that Scott is using his personal email. Nope, I regularly copy the city. If I respond to anyone, I copy Ray, I copy Stacy on it. It is much less likely that a court is going to, look into that or say there's anything unusual if you make it a practice, if you stick with it. So Amy, you're good
Sorry.
to go?
Thank you for pinch hitting there. Sorry about that. But that's for public records, that's kind of your big concern. Did anyone have any questions on public records? All right, last thing is ethics. I'm sorry, you guys. When it comes to ethics, there's a lot of materials in your packet that were put out by the state. Look at those if you ever run into an issue. The two big things that you need to be aware of for ethics is, as a board member, you can't personally profit, meaning you can't receive consideration, money, a gift because of your position on the board. You also can't participate in a decision in which you or a family member have a personal financial interest. If you have a question on whether you have a personal financial interest, look at your packet. Again, great materials in there to walk you through it. Practically, we also say, even if you don't have a legal conflict, keep in mind, there may be a vote that comes up that you might not have a legal conflict, but it just doesn't look good for you to be voting on it. Keep that in mind when you're making your considerations on whether to participate. And finally, if you are going to recuse yourself, you are going to recuse yourself from both the vote and, importantly, the discussion as well. So if you are not voting on an item, you are also not talking about it. The AG's office recommends you actually leave the room. Our office does not take that strict of an approach because we know that might be disruptive towards your meeting. But again, just make sure you are not participating in the discussion. And with that, I covered all of my parts. Is there anything for Lynn or I on our discussion?
And if you don't have questions now and something comes up later, you can always get a hold of us later as well, or ask Ray and we can send a message back as well. So,
Lori?
Yep.
I just wanted to ask a question, quick follow-up. So on the conflict of interest and not having a financial or having a financial interest yourself or a family member, I seem to recall, and maybe I'm mistaken, that also includes a if you were a board member on an organization that could potentially benefit. Is that not correct?
It's, I think, an officer, and it's
And there's
but-
a percentage, or yeah.
yeah, there's like some that have owned, there's multiple tests, but I know if you are like an officer, if you're the president, the vice president, it may not go down to board members depending on, we would have to take a look at that. But yeah, but there's a situation where even if it may not go down to the board members, if you're a board member and on something and it comes to the city with that, that's just an appearance problem anyway. So it's probably a good one to step back, even if there is no actual financial benefit to you or the organization. It just is going to not have a good appearance. So thank you for bringing that one up. Okay. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything, otherwise we will let you get back to your meeting. Thank you for letting us come and present. And if you ever have any questions or, you can go through Ray or call our office directly or give us an email too. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn and Amy. And board members, as Stacy said in your email, we'll have you hard copies of the entire information when we get back in person. So you'll have a hard copy as well. If you want one before then, let Stacy know and she can arrange for you to get it.
Well, thank you. And then let's move on to staff reports. You're up again, Ray.
All right, couple items. The Lakeshore Park Four Seasons building. We had a introductory meeting with Cardinal Construction and Smith Group last week. We are scheduling an official groundbreaking little ceremony for Monday, March 28th at 4 p.m. on the site. We'll get you an invite out, but I wanted you to know about it tonight. So March 28th, it's a Monday at 4 p.m. That's right about when they are expecting to be able to start moving some dirt and starting the project. So we'd like to have any of the board members that can make it. I know the mayor will be there, the city manager, members from Cardinal and Smith Group. So we'll get you some invite information out. So keep an eye out for that. Excuse me. The Chief Oshkosh signage project, what we have done is requested quotes for the two-sided bronze signs as the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin had preferred. Stacy's working on that. We have to receive quotes from at least 3 firms. So she's made contact with 3 of those companies. So we're waiting to get information back on the pricing, and then we'll continue to work with the tribe on the final layout and design of those. Pickard Park, as you guys had recommended after last month, the Common Council did approve the naming of that park, so it's officially named. That was at the last council meeting. And then the final one that I have is our Parks Department staffing. We are right now in the midst of getting all of our information out for part-time and summer seasonal help. So if you know of anybody, send them to the city's website. We have all the positions from concession workers, pool workers, maintenance workers, everything that we offer during the summer is out there. So please pass it along if you have anybody that might have an interest. They are out there. We did just have some full-time positions that the closing for those were over the weekend, I think Friday and Saturday. We had some full-time arborist positions. One was a position that was added during the budget process. Another is due to a recent resignation. Somebody in our current staffing after, well, I think he's been there just short of what I did. So he was there 11 and a half years, I think. They moved to a little north of Wisconsin, and he took a job with another municipality. So we actually had 2 arborist positions. From what I'm hearing, there may not have been a lot of applicants like you're probably hearing for most positions. So Bill and I will have to talk and possibly have that reposted potentially. So if you know somebody full-time looking for full-time work in either an arborist or horticulture, have them reach out to us. And then the final one is we currently have Bill's position posted because Bill has given us his retirement notice. So this is his last meeting. Bill is his position's landscape operations manager. We have that posted. But I wanted to thank Bill. He's been with the city 18 years, I think, Bill, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Ray.
So I wanted to make sure that the board knew and had an opportunity to know that Bill has served us well. I think he's done a great job in everything he's done for us. So we've got him involved with obviously the cemetery, the forestry side of things, monuments, just, you know, and with EAB and everything going on, he's just taken on a lot of projects. So we're sad to see him go, but obviously we understand if you can do it, go ahead and do it. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ray. Thanks for your years of service to us.
Thank you.
So Bill's last day is March 4th. So we're going to be scrambling to take on his duties while we're filling his position, and hopefully we'll have a strong recruitment for that position. So that's all I have.
All right. Well, Bill, I guess this is your last staff report. Please go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I've been waiting for years for this. Well, my staff report this time is much the same as it was last. We're continuing to work on pruning a lot of the terrace trees through our 2022 schedule. So that's moving along pretty nicely. We're also taking advantage of the lack of snow this year to get into some of the park properties and doing some tree removals in some of those sites that are difficult to access when it's wet. So we're getting quite a bit of work accomplished here this winter. We've got obviously a lot of horticulture work coming on this year. So we've got all the bedding plants ordered. They're being custom grown at a local nursery. We've got all the tree orders together. A lot of our equipment orders are all wrapped up. So we're also working with a couple contractors on removing some ash trees in some of the zones. We're just really tight on staff, so we're having a little help come in to assist us with that. So that's moving along fairly well. Other than that, we're just kind of shooting for spring, trying to make sure we have everything kind of ready to go. Just wanted to add too, in closing too, it's been my pleasure to work with the city of Oshkosh and the citizens. Everybody's been very supportive. I think even though, we've had some big challenges over the years, I think community has really been on our side and, worked very well with us over the years, trying to accomplish our overall mission of greening up the city and doing a lot of really fantastic improvement projects throughout the parks and other city properties. So I really did enjoy my work, and in some ways I hate to leave, but it's comes a time when I need to go after some of the other personal interests that I have, and I want to thank everybody on the board too, because you guys have been super supportive and on my side, and I appreciate that a lot. So thanks.
Well, thank you, Bill. And now Jenny.
Okay. So just kind of been working on, it's been a busy off season here. So we're getting things lined up for this spring and summer. So right now I've been working a lot on booking bands and entertainment and getting sponsorships and all kinds of stuff like that. So this year I'll do Breakfast with the Bunny. That's on the screen. So April 9th, we are going to be back to our Breakfast with the Bunny, an exciting day at the zoo. This will be the first time, since 2019. So we've been 2 years off of this event. So as long as people feel comfortable, I think that it'll be a great turnout. So Breakfast with the Bunny will be a new location this year for the first time. We're having it at Webster Stanley, which logistically for staff and just for patrons too, it'll work really nice being across the street. So from 8 to 11, we'll be doing the Breakfast with the Bunny, and then from 11 to 3 going right to the exciting day at the zoo. So April 9th, mark your calendars. If you yourself or any kiddos or maybe grandkids have community service hours or volunteering through school, we definitely are always looking for volunteers for the event. And it should be a good year. Like I said, it's been a while since we've been able to have the event, so people will be looking forward to it, and it'll be the new location, which will be nice. So that is coming up on April 9th. And then this year our Brews on the Bay, I don't know if I saw Becky down there last year. I'm not sure who else got down there. But our Brews on the Bay last year were great. They were a really big hit, and the local community really liked them a lot, as well as, our sponsors were very supportive. The local breweries were very supportive in donating the craft beers. So we are actually going to be doing 8 of those this summer. So the dates, you have the save the dates there. You can save, and you'll see 7 of them there. Because the last one is going to be we're going to be having an adult, it's going to be called Brews in the Zoo on the night before Zooloween this year. So we're trying to, we put the tent up, and you spend the money to put the tent up, and it's up there for 5 days anyways from the company. So we decided to take advantage and do a nighttime event the Friday before Zooloween. So that will be our 8th one, and that will be Brews in the Zoo versus Brews on the Bay. Kind of same setup though as Brews on the Bay. We'll have, you know, a band and craft beers and food trucks, but it'll just be in the zoo. So a lot of things really, we're kind of looking at a way to kind of strategically place this stuff this year. So we've decided we have the 8 Brews on the Bay, we have the 6 Tuesday night concerts. So we're going to just do it every other week throughout the summer and early fall. So one week we'll have a Tuesday night concert, and the next week we'll have a Brews on the Bay, then Tuesday, then Wednesday. Last year, some of it ended up back to back, and that was, you know, it's really tough for staff to get them there back to back. You know, people usually have to choose, like this week, oh, should I go to this or go to that? So we're hoping the way we have it laid out this year, just kind of every other week throughout, will be a good plan. So we'll have some type of outdoor concert every week all summer long. So, and into the fall. Yay! So those are exciting. I do have all the bands booked for the both of them for Tuesday nights, which are a little bit bigger bands, you know, not like Waterfest big, but a little bit bigger bands on Tuesday nights. And then Brews on the Bay is more, you know, like the 1-piece or 2-piece kind of smaller bands. So I do have those all booked for the Tuesdays and the Wednesdays. The Tuesdays are sponsored. We still do have some sponsorship opportunities open on the Brews on the Bay. So again, if you know anyone local who would like to be, you know, support that series and wants to be a sponsor, certainly let me know. And then we're also working on family entertainment for the Tuesday night concerts as well. So lots of fun stuff happening. So it's been a very productive and exciting off season, getting things lined up for the summer. So any questions from anyone? Oh, okay.
Well, looks like a fun summer. Yes.
Excuse me. I wanted to do one item. It wasn't listed under my report, but I got something pretty cool from our building architect for our new parks building. So it's a little fly around, which I want to show you. Let me get up here. Let me share my screen. I'm not sure who's, hey, Jenny, you want to mute again, please? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay. So kind of give you a feel for what our building is shaping up to look like. So this will be the view, essentially the view from Idaho Street. Out to the right is Witzel.
I don't know. Are you sure you want to move to that?
Becky, I've been here 12 years and promise.
Wow.
You can just see the amount of storage for vehicles, efficiency, being able to get vehicles stored where they should be, keeping them indoors instead of parking them outdoors in a fenced area. Next, it'll give you a quick snapshot inside. So this will be coming in our main foyer to the service counter up by Stacy. And entering the administrative side.
Wow.
So pretty exciting. That project is out for bids right now. Bids are due next Thursday. So we're keeping our fingers crossed to have some decent bids come in. I won't jump too ahead of Amy, but I'm thinking March right now, we may or may not have a meeting. I don't have anything pressing right now. And that's actually the same night of our meeting is the State of the City virtual event. So without conflicting between our meeting and the State of the City, we may if we have something pressing come up, we'll meet. But at this point, I don't see anything, so stay tuned. We have it on the agenda for March, but it may or may not happen. And Deb already told us she will be traveling, so she is going to be doing something fun without us.
Ray, I just wanted to say, when Jen was talking, it was really helpful that you had those flyers up there to show us, because she does so much stuff. It is really hard to keep track of it all, and I want to put it on my calendar, all those lovely, lovely things. So thank you for doing that.
We can send those out as well in an email if you'd like. So you've got flyers that way.
Deb, are you aware of the activity guide on our website as well?
No, I don't get to it I mean, I know it's there. I just don't get to
Okay.
it very often. So, but thank you. Anyway, it was just a little extra, and it's amazing what all she's got going, but thanks.
Yes, she keeps it hopping all year round. So
You guys, I have to tell you a funny story about the maintenance building too. We have a new employee that started who's going to be doing, activities. And I was kind of taking her on some tours and showing her where she might find stuff. And, because we don't have storage, it's in like 5 different buildings, so I'm like, okay, well, this is here and here. And she's like, what? Like, how do you know where everything is? So it's going to be really nice to have a building where we can have everything in one spot. We know where everybody is and everything is, and it's going to be great. So,
And Bill's gonna miss out on all of it.
I was just
it's too much.
Bill, you get a real office if you stay around for a little longer.
Yeah, well, that may take a little longer than I care to stay, I guess.
All right, Amy, I think that's all for us.
All right. Anybody else?
Scott has his hand up.
I just want to congratulate Bill and thank you for your years of service. And I think you're going to be a difficult guy to replace with your knowledge base and experience, and you've brought a lot to the city. So congratulations. I wish you well and enjoy retirement.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Scott. I'll be hanging out with you now, us retired guys.
All right.
You'll
Hopefully
have to get a ukulele and I'll join you. We'll play a couple tunes.
Senior Center has ukulele lessons. We can set you up. Or you can instruct.
We'll see, Ray.
All right, Amy, let's get out of this meeting.
All right, I motion to adjourn.
Becky, do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Bartelt,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Dearth,
Aye.
Groyle,
Aye.
Hudak,
Aye.
Martin,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Millette.
Aye.
And it looks like we lost Lori, so Stevenson.
I sorry.
It's okay. You weren't prepared probably, but thank you
No,
for
I was not.
jumping in on that. All right, then motion passed 9-0. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.